So let's start with our first reading topic, which is identifying information in the text and answering true, false, not given questions. And this is really important because true, false, not given questions come up in every academic IELTS reading exam. So it's important to know what they are and also how to answer them. And if you've done some of this revision and practice beforehand, like this video, then you know what to expect and you're going to save yourself a lot of time in the exam and you won't panic. You'll be ready. So if we take a look at identifying information, you need to answer the questions based on information in the passage. So what that really means is that you're not answering the questions based on what you think is the answer from your own experience, but simply based on the passage. So for example, if you have a reading passage about monkeys and you already know everything about monkeys and all the different types of monkeys, you don't need to bring any of your knowledge to the exam. You only need to answer the questions about monkeys from the text. So that's in that way. This is truly a test of your reading comprehension. It's not a test of knowledge. It's a test of your ability to read and understand the passage. And it's purely common sense. You probably already know that, but it's good to keep it in mind. So if we take a look at the true, false, not given questions, here is a simple example to show you how it looks like in the exam. If you've already done the test, then you already know what it looks like. So you'll have generally the first set of questions, questions 1 to 3. Do the following statements agree with the information given in paragraph 2, for example? And then you'll see true, false, not given, and then 3 statements. And you're expected to choose one of those statements as possibly true, one is false, and one is not given. Now, it's possible that there may be 2 false or 2 not given or 2 true. You know, it's not always exactly 1, 1, 1. So yeah, so it's not always 1 true, 1 false, 1 not given question, right? Yeah. So what does true mean? A true statement in an answer means that answer, the meaning of that sentence, appears in the text. It may appear as a paraphrase, it may appear in a slightly different way, but the information is provided in the text. A false statement means that it is contradictory to information in the passage. So for example, if in the passage it says that monkeys are brown and the statement says monkeys are yellow, then obviously that's a false statement because it's contradicting information in the passage. And then not given means that there is no information in the passage at all related to that statement. So for example, if in the statement it says, well, monkeys are funny, but there's nothing in the passage that states that monkeys are funny or humorous or even have a personality, then it's obviously not given. So I think that you get the idea, right? It's pretty straightforward. So what is the method that we need to follow? It's a good idea to follow a specific method because you have limited amount of time. You don't want to spend your time reading the passage and then reading the questions and going back and going forward. You need to have a method. So follow this technique. Simply read the questions, skim the text, highlight keywords or synonyms that you noticed in both the question and the passage, then go back, scan the text for meaning and paraphrase, and check the other questions. Okay, so what do I mean by skim? Skim means to read very quickly. Scan means to read in more depth. So you're skimming, you're scanning. Skimming, scanning. You need to work quickly because you need to be able to find the synonym match with the text. Find the words, keywords match with the text. Maybe the best idea is to apply this method to an example, and that's what we're going to do here. We have a paragraph about Madagascar. This is a very typical text that you may see in IELTS, where you have a geographic or a scientific passage, sometimes a little technical. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by reading the questions, all right? So number 1, Madagascar has the richest variety of wildlife on the planet. Number 2, 90% of wildlife in Madagascar is extinct. Number 3, only 10% of Madagascar's wildlife is also found in other countries. Okay, so now we're going to highlight some key words that we see in both the questions and the passage. Immediately you see that percent appears in both number 2 and in the text. Also, we see that the word wildlife, which is a synonym for animals, appears in the question number 3 and in the text. So use your highlighter pen if it's a paper-based test to quickly highlight or to circle the words that you see in both the question and the text. Okay, now we're going to quickly skim the text. Madagascar's isolation in the Indian Ocean resulted in a unique biodiversity. 90% of its animals are not found anywhere else on the planet. However, the country's ecosystems are at risk due to human behavior and industrial growth, and 70% of animals are already extinct. Okay, so now we've quickly skimmed it. Let's scan the text now for paraphrase and meaning. This is number 3. So Madagascar's isolation in the Indian Ocean resulted in a unique biodiversity. All right, so we know now Madagascar has a unique wildlife and landscape. 90% of its animals are not found anywhere else on the planet. However, the country's ecosystems are at risk due to human behavior and industrial growth, and 70% of animals are already extinct. Now we're going to see if we can find a paraphrase. And we do. 90% of its animals are not found anywhere else has exactly the same meaning as number 3. Only 10% of Madagascar's wildlife is also found in other countries. This is very tricky because it's not obvious that number 3 is a paraphrase. You have to use your understanding of percents to know that that is a true paraphrase of sentence number 2 in the text. Okay. However, if you do see the keyword, that does help to make that quick paraphrase. Check the other questions. This is strategy number 4. Madagascar has the richest variety of wildlife on the planet. If we go back to the text, we see that Madagascar has a unique biodiversity. It has unique animals, but it doesn't say anywhere in the text that it has the richest variety. There's no information about that at all. So that's not given. That is tricky because you could get confused. So again, your understanding of the meaning is very, very important. Number 2, 90% of wildlife in Madagascar is extinct. False. Why? Because in the last sentence we write 70% of animals are already extinct. So that's quite an easy one because the statement is already clearly a contradiction of the text. So again, what are the qualities you need to get these answers? You need to have a good eye for detail, and you need to be focused, and a good understanding of vocabulary. So that's why practicing your reading is very, very important. So let's move on to recognizing paraphrase. So recognizing paraphrase means identifying sentences that have the same meaning, probably using synonym, using different terms, different ways of saying the same thing. So let's take a look first at this new paragraph. 22 bird species alone have become extinct since the first colonization. The forests have been classified by the World Wildlife Fund as endangered, and along with Madagascar and the Indian Ocean Islands, are considered areas of conservation because of their rich endemic biodiversity. It is a World Heritage Site and a volcanic region. The Piton de la Fournaise, the Peak of the Furnace, is the most active volcano in Réunion, which continues to erupt until this day. So let's take a look at statement number 1. The World Wildlife Fund has categorized the forests in Madagascar as dangerous. So this is a trick question, because when you see the word dangerous, you might think that has the same meaning as endangered, but it doesn't. The word endangered means that the forests are in danger by other external factors. It doesn't mean the forests are dangerous. So again, here your understanding of words is very important. We know that this statement here is completely false because it contradicts information in the paragraph. Let's move on to number 2. The World Wildlife Fund has categorized the forest in Madagascar as endangered. And if we look back at sentence number 2 in the paragraph, we see that this answer is a complete paraphrase. Instead of the word classified, the answer has provided the word categorized. But in fact, the meaning of the sentence is exactly the same. So that is true. Number 3, there are extinct trees in the Madagascar forests. If we look back at the text, we certainly read about forests and we read about conservation, but we don't read anywhere about trees being extinct. So that's completely not given. It's not false, but because we don't know for sure that there are extinct trees, but there's also no information about it, so we must write not given. So again, be very careful about the difference between false and not given, right? Not given means you just don't have any information about it in the text. So check the key words. Is the meaning really the same with the same keywords or with synonyms? Because IELTS will try to trick you about this. So identify keywords in the text that you think will help you find the answer. So again, when we look back at this same passage, we see the word 22 bird species appears in the text and appears in the answer. The word volcano also appears in the text and the answer. But let's check the sentences. So it says there are 22 species of flora and fauna that are now extinct. Let's go back quickly. Check the sentence about 22 bird species. 22 bird species alone have become extinct since the first colonization. Is that the same as the statement? No, because the statement refers to flora and fauna, not bird species. So this is wrong. This is false because it contradicts the statement in the passage. Let's look at the statement about the volcano. Piton de la Fournaise is the highest volcano in Réunion. Let's go back to the sentence about the volcano. The Piton de la Fournaise, the Peak of the Furnace, is the most active volcano. It's not the highest volcano in Réunion. So this again is false because it contradicts the statement in the passage. So again, the key words are the same, but the meaning is different. So careful about key words. They may try to trick you, and it's not an accident. The writers of the exam have done that deliberately to test your understanding of meaning, your deeper understanding of the passage rather than just understanding the general ideas. So identify synonyms. Broaden your range of vocabulary so that you can understand different words that have the same meaning. So let's take a look at this paragraph. Réunion is an island located in the Indian Ocean, southwest of Mauritius and east of Madagascar. It is a French territory and therefore part of the Eurozone. While Creole is the mother tongue of all native inhabitants, everyone in Réunion actually speaks French. Let's look at the statements. All local people of the island of Réunion speak Creole as their native language. So the word local people of the island, do we see anything similar in the text? We see native inhabitants. Inhabitants are residents, are people who live in a country, and native also means local. So here we have two direct synonyms with the same meaning. And all of these local people of Réunion speak Creole as their native language. And earlier in the sentence, it says, while Creole is the mother tongue. So mother tongue is a synonym of native language. So actually, this sentence is a complete paraphrase of the third sentence in this paragraph. So I'll just repeat that. This first answer is a complete, perfectly written paraphrase of the third statement in the paragraph. If we look at statement number 2, local people of the island of Réunion do not speak French. So we already know local people are the native inhabitants. And although Creole is their native language, they also speak French. They actually speak French too. So statement number 2 is false because they do speak French. So again, identifying the synonyms is very important, but it's also important to check meaning. So you're skimming for synonyms, you're skimming for keywords, you're scanning for meaning. Let's recap on the main points of identifying information for academic reading IELTS Task 1. Analyze the statement in the question. What does it mean? Skim the text. Go back to the text to get a general understanding and to capture the keywords and synonyms. You're going to scan for the detailed understanding of the passage. Recognize paraphrase. You can recognize paraphrase by identifying synonyms and clarifying that the meaning is the same. But be careful, because those keywords may be the same, but the meaning may be different. So you're scanning for meaning. Finally, identify synonyms. Well, that's the same thing really as what we said before, paraphrasing. So just to finalize, I just wanted to mention to keep an eye on the time because you don't really have a lot of time. So maybe you could categorize your time, manage your time so that you're giving yourself enough time to do the skim and then enough time to do the scanning. So I hope this has been of use to you. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Good luck in IELTS Reading Task 1. And don't forget to keep reading. That will help you to prepare. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.